these builds, I usually expect them to take like a month max, or maybe a little bit more if it's really complicated, which I haven't really gotten the pleasure of being able to do something so complicated that it takes that much time. But this ended up taking so much time, I don't even really know how to explain it through words. This build started last year. It's done now. That's how long it took. This is Tesseract 2.0. This is the most annoying thing I've ever done involving Nerf in any capacity. I hated every second of building this thing, but it's finished, and now we can enjoy it. And now I get to yell at it, which is the best part, because if I don't get to yell at something, that automatically negates its value. So let's start with everything that has been done to this strife, starting with the design. It's definitely got a presence, to say the least. It is a strife, obviously, but painted pretty much solid green. I wanted to make it match Tesseract, for good reason. I mean, it's called Tesseract for a reason. That plus a worker body kit, the Chris Vector style body kit, obviously, which includes this kind of magwell cover thing, the grip cover down here, the front barrel cover, a top rail, and these little rails on either side. That's pretty much all the kit consists of. It doesn't actually have the rail, but it does block these spots right here, so you can keep the stock parts without having to paint them, which is a good thing because you kind of have to keep that orange if you want to take all this stuff off and just use it as a strife, which I intend on doing. And then we also have an Out of Darts extended battery cover for good reason. You guys will explain why, or you guys will see why later. And then we have a lightweight stock with this cheek rest on it, which was very expensive. This was like $40 all by itself, but is very comfortable and works very well, so I don't mind it. The only problem is that these screws absolutely love to back out, and this thing loves to slide around, so I have to tighten it off it, which sucks, but what are you gonna do? I can put thread locker on these, I just haven't because I'm too lazy, but maybe that's future me's problem to figure out. And then we've got this red dot sight that Phase 1 Foam got me for Christmas, so that was really nice of him, and it's really cool. It actually fully functional and works very well on this blaster, even though it does kind of look like this towering block coming out of the top of the blaster, but it doesn't really matter. Finally, on the front, we've got this suppressor looking thing on top of a worker orange muzzle brake. If I do this, that's what the muzzle actually looks like. It's meant to come off, so I kept it orange. I also have a black one in case I just want to use this, but most of the time I just run it like this because it's far more practical that way and reduces the amount of drag that's coming out of the barrel. And the last finishing touch, besides the custom magazine that I printed out of a double dealer mag right here, is the flashlight, which is a real steel firearm flashlight that just works wonders on this blaster as it merges perfectly with the shell and holds the front of this barrel onto the rest of the shell. And if there's some sort of catastrophic malfunction that requires me to take the blaster apart, I can simply pull these little pegs down and slide it forwards to get it off. No screwdrivers or anything needed, and you can push it slightly down to turn on the light, and then click it down to keep it on. So I have the ability to turn it off and on when I want to, and then leave it on when I need to. It's very useful, and when using the Chris Vector style foregrip, I can easily hit it with my thumb, and because it's ambidextrous, you can hit it from either side. So really, really good attachment here. I love this thing. I use it all the time. Besides that, the only modifications seen that are visible to the naked eye are this right here, which is a worker paddle style mag release that's been in orange in order to match the other two triggers, because orange triggers are tactical as hell. I don't care what anybody says. Besides that, everything visually seems exactly the same, but there's a lot going on under the shell. Powering this blaster is a 2S LiPo, which is obviously under the battery cover that connects to an XT60 connector. The wiring in this blaster is 16 gauge, connecting to a 21 amp Omron micro switch, which is behind the rev trigger, making it extremely clicky and very powerful and responsive. And all the way up here is a Nix cage with the included wheels running off of Feng revamps. I didn't think that I was going to be able to do that, but again, Phase 1 Foam provided me a Nix cage for this blaster, and I eternally thank him for that, because it has improved this blaster's durability and performance by an absolute landslide. On top of that, the original version of Tesseract used a swappable cage setup that has been retconned here. So the whole thing is just permanently wired up because Why would I trade a Nick Cage for anything else? Let's be honest here. I meant to say trade it for anything else, but it doesn't really matter. The point is, it's there. And if you guys remember, the original version of this build used Insatanto wheels and a Worker Metal Cage Gen 3, which is a pretty good setup, but it's just not as good as the Nick Cage. I mean, that just works infinitely better for what this blaster is doing. It is a very powerful blaster, and it's got quite a lot of force behind it. So with all that said, let's actually see what force it can provide. So the only other thing that I kind of forgot to mention is if you flip the blaster over, I gave this blaster a new logo, Tesseract 2.0. Rather than writing the word Tesseract using the pen, that was very difficult to do, and it was damn near impossible when I was using hand paints to repaint all of the details on this blaster, so I just wrote the logo that it has. That's a Tesseract, a 4D cube. The logo of this blaster. The whole thing this blaster is themed around, other than my character. And then 2.0 because this is an infinitely better improvement than the original, which died after a single game. So what do I think of this build? This went from a blaster that I just didn't like looking at and didn't want to think about having to fix to one of my favorite blasters to play with in my whole collection. I sometimes just take this down just to screw around with it and play it, and I often bring this thing to tournaments. In fact, this thing is going to go to every single tournament that I go to from now on. Every single one. If it allows the FPS, it's going. And if it doesn't, it's going anyways, because I want to plink with it mid-game, or between games at least. That's how good this blaster is at this point. It's nothing too special, just a basic Strife overhaul with a really nice looking body kit, but it means a lot to me. And again, I have to thank Phase 1 Foam for helping me get this stupid thing out of the gutter and working in a usable and outstandingly functional state that the original version could never have competed with. Also, here's my new logo. I put these little tactical stripes next to it because I think it looks cool. Tell me what you guys think. With all that said, thank you guys for watching. And if you go down to the description, you will find an eBay listing for the Dart Zone Max Striker, which includes everything except the mag adapter because I couldn't find it anywhere. But it has the barrel, it's got the scope, it's got the stock, and it's got the little iron sights. It's fully functional, there's nothing broken here. I've tested it, I've made sure that it works just fine, and I'm going to be selling it for relatively cheap. So if you're interested in this blaster, go and check it out in the description. If the blaster does not sell, I will be donating it to charity. With all that said, thank you guys for watching. Bye!